Welcome to Superhero Spectating with Harold and Hassan. We're a fan based podcast with two non experts exploring superhero. As always, we're happy to have you along for some theories and fun. Welcome to the episode. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. Heroes, Harold and Hassan. So the world obviously needs heroes, man, but looks like DC just needs one. I I enjoyed the Batman. Like, what were your thoughts overall, Harold?
Overall, I'd say I enjoyed the watch. I enjoyed watching it. It took me a while to get to it because of things that were happening in my life, but I eventually got the chance to watch it, and I'm glad I did. There was a chance that I was going to watch it at a drive-in movie, and
That would have been an experience.
yeah, but it would have been I don't think it would have been the appropriate experience for a movie like this, especially Batman, knowing that Batman is like a darker movie. Um, I feel sometimes when you go to a drive-in, the lighting isn't fully corrected. I feel,
Hmm.
and even the sound. You're getting the sound through the drive-ins I've been through. It's like your car radio,
Yeah,
which is
same.
cool. But yeah, we saw it at an Adobe Digital Theater, so that was awesome.
I think we did too. Yeah, no, I thought it was a great cinematic graphic novel, and we can jump back into why that is later. But I think for those of you that have been listening to the show, the easiest way to define that would be by referencing our tiers, and I think it's top tier, which are films that are meant to be thoughtful, personally and communally likable, have good character arcs, writing, acting, directing, cinematography, casting, and enjoyment. Would you say it is top tier here?
I think I would agree that it is top tier. I would also just want to watch the movie multiple times, to fully determine its position.
For sure. There were a couple scenes that I thought were comedy, but I don't think that the tone of the movie was meant to be, fun and joyful. I think
Yeah,
by virtue of it being a Batman movie, it's not supposed to be tier two, which I guess gives reason to the statement you made in the last episode about what was it, 89? Or which early Batman movie was it that they were ice skating?
oh, Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, I love Batman and Robin. I'm gonna rewatch it. Haven't had a chance to rewatch it yet, but I I think that was a Batman movie that did top tier. No, sorry, that did tier two justice.
I would say Batman and Robin is probably tier three, bro. It's
Tier three, bro.
I think you just have to rewatch it, man. I think you have to rewatch.
All right, man. All right. I mean, we're gonna come back to a ranking of all Batman movies probably later in this episode, but I figure the easiest way to go about giving a review for the Batman would be by breaking him into thirds. So I figured we could evaluate his growth as a hero, evaluate his growth as Bruce, and his growth as Batman. Are you down with that?
Okay.
So, if we're starting with his growth as a hero, I thought it was a really interesting take because his villains, from my opinion, know who he is and he doesn't. And I thought that was a very fresh take on Batman. And I mean, it makes sense because it's year one and year two, but I feel like even with the duality of Bruce and Batman that we saw in The Dark Knight, you still got a Batman or a Bruce that was more sure of himself or more sure of the crusade being right. And I feel like Robert Pattinson's Batman, which I'm saying again, I do love, I think he's just lost to a legacy in need, and I don't think he had really figured it out yet. And I think his counterparts in the movie helped him to explore more so who he was. There are going to be spoilers in this episode. I want to say that now before I jump into them. But yeah, I don't think Bruce is a mask yet. I think it's probably going to be explored more so in Batman 2 or Penguin or Gotham Arkham Asylum with the little references that they may have to him. Sorry, Gotham PD, which is now being explored as like the world of Arkham Asylum and maybe even Penguin. But when I was rewatching Batman Year One, the animated film, I felt like by that point in time, Bruce as a person didn't really see much value in himself. And I think that's common across the animated Year One, the Christopher Nolan trilogy, and the Batman and Matt Reeves. Like all of them seem to kind of disregard the value of the Wayne family name and lead into their legacy their own way. And for someone who hasn't read The Long Halloween, it was definitely very compelling for me, understanding that this movie was inspired by it, to go back and then try and watch. What were your thoughts on his growth as a hero?
I'm just trying to get my thoughts together.
For sure.
You
For sure.
know? I think there is an arc of him becoming a hero throughout this movie. You know,
Mm.
he he goes by the name Vengeance. You know, he never once called himself Batman, which I found that I liked at moments. But I also found that I also remember those moments because it does come off a little funny, you know, when Selena comes in, she's all like, "Hey, what's up, Vengeance?" And it's just, I'm like, well, he did say he is Vengeance, you know.
Or when he's throwing
But
down with the
anyway,
goons and he's like, I'm vengeance. That was a
yeah,
cool trailer moment.
like that gag where the henchman in the front keeps opening the door and bringing his twin in. That was pretty funny, but I don't know if it was appropriate for the tone. I think it's pretty cool that he goes by Vengeance, you know, but by the end he decides to like drop that. He decides that that's not what he is, and it's appropriate, I feel, for a Batman that's becoming a hero, you know.
Yeah, I think so because by the end, I think he had said it in his monologue. I like how the movie ended and began with a poem of sorts, but also him logging his thoughts going in and out of the Long Halloween. And by the end, as he was saving the Gothamites, he regarded himself as someone not focused on vengeance but relief. And I thought that was important. I also think that's not necessarily something that we've seen in other Batman movies, and maybe I'm suffering from like recency bias, but I think they explored his psychological profile very well in this movie. And I just went back to watch the Dark Knight trilogy, and I think that they explored his duality there well too. And I think he was actually more of a bridge between Bruce and Batman than Robert Pattinson's character. I feel like Robert Pattinson in the beginning didn't want to be Bruce. I think for Robert Pattinson's Bruce, Bruce died that night with his parents, you know? And when he came back, assuming from his training with the Legion of Assassins and going
Well,
around the
you
world.
don't know there, to be honest.
Hmm?
It is year two. I don't know what type of training Bruce had. We had
Yeah,
a little dialogue between Alfred and I forgot who's saying that he trained Bruce fighting or something. I don't know if you remember that scene.
I can't remember the words. I think I do remember the scene that you're talking about. I thought it was also interesting that I mean, in watching the Christopher Nolan trilogy, I feel like they left it up to interpretation too, but kind of implying that Joe Chill was just one of what's his name, Carmine Falcone's goons, and
Hmm.
that the the murder of the Waynes wasn't an accident. I thought that was really interesting because I felt like every villain in this movie either directly referenced or not, had their own arc and their own motivations that I thought were grounded. Joe Chill being a goon for Carmine Falcone being a well renowned crime boss, Penguin or Oswald, not even yet really being regarded as a penguin, but just like the muscle. Selena Kyle trying to figure out who she was in and of herself, provide for someone else, try to figure out whether or not she was her own crime boss of sorts because she's a daughter of Falcone in this movie. And yeah, no, I don't know. I'm excited. Like with the 49 Below and some of the lingo that was used in the movie, I thought they were kind of teasing Freeze. I like that we saw several villains, which was expected from a long Halloween movie. I think we're going to see Scarecrow because they played a lot on fear in this movie, but I wouldn't be surprised if, like, some people are saying we saw Lady Gotham or maybe more of the Arkham Asylum inmates take the front field. Maybe we'll see Joker, maybe we won't. Matt Reeves hasn't really expanded on whether or not we're going to see him again, but I thought that was an interesting Joker to throw in. I think Matt Reeves said he's not Joker yet, kind of like Bruce wasn't Batman or the Batman, he was just Vengeance. I think they're still early enough in their careers where it could end up being in-game Batman, but maybe not. And I'm excited, man, because I feel like a lot of people crap on Batcat and who is it, Tom Taylor's illustrations and their relationship. But I think they did the relationship justice, and her going off to Bloodhaven, it gives him reason to go to Bloodhaven in movie two. Maybe he'll find Dick Grayson there in a circus because he's still around like 21, 22 in this movie. Maybe we'll get Huntress. Maybe Selena Kyle and Bruce will likely be intimate in the next movie. And she'll ask him once again to choose her, but because he's probably going to be going down a darker path and need to choose being Batman, he won't. And maybe that's how he doesn't end up knowing that he has a daughter that's in this family. I'm super interesting for the world that Reeves is setting up, and for a 21 to 22-year old who's been gone a while, I felt like again with the motivations, he had Pattinson play a brooding, yearning 21-year-old with like an ambivalent relationship with Alfred very well. It made sense to me after him being gone all of this time and his parents being gone. Like Bruce is essentially a ooh, this could get dicey, but I think his character is always supposed to kind of lean into dissociative identity, and he's also kind of in arrested development, and he's coping. I don't know if that it's healthy. I I think Selena might help him find a healthier path, but I liked it, man. And then the Riddler, I think killed it. What were your thoughts on the Riddler?
I like the Riddler's performance. Um, I heard a lot of comparisons to a real life.
Zodiac
Uh,
Killer?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not too familiar with who that is though, so I wasn't too sure of the reference to him.
I don't
Could
want
you?
to speak too much on it because I'm not as much of a murderino as, like, say, my fiance, but the comparison I think came from the ciphers that he left and the clues that he left for law enforcement. And I think Bruce in the movie even suggested that it would have made sense for the Riddler to show up at the scene of the crime because his idea was that psychopaths or mass murderers, etc., like to show up at the scene of the crime and see how their stuff plays out. If you were to look up a bio of Zodiac Killer, I think it would make a lot more sense. But again, I'm not a murderino. There are other podcasts for that. Maybe check out My Favorite Murder if you're interested in hearing more.
Got it.
But yeah, no, I saw references to the Zodiac Killer, people making a play on violent internet culture,
Okay,
and
yeah. He
then
was,
go
he was
ahead.
definitely. Um, I could definitely see the reference to like, yeah, violent internet culture and bullying, social bullying.
Yeah, echo chambers, because he was surrounded by people who shared his beliefs, people that also seemed lost, like Bruce. But
Ooh.
the Riddler committed to the persona that he created to cope with the real world problems that they were dealing with, which was like classism, lack of resources, the divide between the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. And I think he even showed Bruce how removed he was from the working class, even though he might exist as a working class hero because of how bourgeoisie he is, or him growing up in a privileged environment. And I thought it was a really interesting take, especially because this Bruce Wayne, as my memory serves me, is the only one, at least within the last decade, that has not been invested in like philanthropic endeavors. And they
Okay.
even touched on that in the movie, you know? And to speak to what's happening behind closed doors and making references to Hush and what's going on with Bruce's family and his folks' psychological profile, which again, I feel like we don't get a lot of. I think that was really interesting. And I'm happy that when they were exploring the Riddler's motivations, they brought it back to Bruce in a way that made him, I think for the second time, no, the first time of two times in the movie, question whether or not his crusade was as clear cut as he thought it was. And does the crusade still stand if you find out that your parents and their mission wasn't what you thought it was, right?
Mm,
I liked it. I think he was a really good counterpart for Bruce in this year two movie. And I was almost gonna say first counterpart, but I believe I read that there was a deleted scene with the Joker or the maskless inmate that we saw at the end with Riddler. And that deleted scene was supposed to be a conversation between Bruce and the soon to be Joker discussing how they'd been doing this for a while and something about how comparable they were, I think. And I think
mm,
that would have been interesting. But again, I mean, Joker's been done a few times, and I liked all of the recent adaptations of the Joker. But Reeves probably wanted to stray away from something that's been done within the last decade, and maybe that's why he'll go with like Lady Gotham or other characters that we're not as familiar with or having been seen lately. Because I don't know if you if you do Scarecrow again after us seeing the Dark Knight trilogy, it's kind of like that scene from the Suicide Squad where you kind of have to live to prove the point that you're doing what the previous hero or villain before you did, but you're doing it better, you know?
Okay.
But Harvey Dent was a good villain. So is Joker. So is Ra's al Ghul. I'd be excited to see them again, as long as they were done well. What else? Bruce as a detective. Everyone's been talking about that. I'm actually happy that we saw it in this movie. I loved the way he logged, again, beginning and ending of the movie, but the surveillance, man. He had the thing in his eye. That's what's this guy's name? Not the guy that's going up into space right now, the Tesla guy.
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk. That to me was some Elon Musk level invention and money. I thought it was super cool that he had a contact lens that was it's so efficient too. Because he's only one man, he's going to be exhausted, so it's easier at the end of the day to make sure that you like coated your lens with something that can record everything that you're seeing so you can't be mistaken because people have false memories all the time, or if he
Hmm.
gets drugged, or if he during his adrenaline rush at the end of the movie while he's fighting the horde of the violent internet community, like I don't know, he can always prove to Gotham PD, I wasn't intentionally killing this man. I needed to stab myself with adrenaline. Adrenaline got the best of me. This is the proof. You know what I'm saying? I don't think
Yeah.
I've ever seen Batman do it on that scale. And the closest thing we got was when Bruce Wayne was watching all of Gotham with the Lucius Fox technology, but then he got rid of it. You know?
Yeah.
What else did I see? The flight scene was cool. What did you think of that?
The flight scene.
Yeah, when he looked like a squirrel or
Oh,
a
yeah, it
la
was cool.
ratata.
Cool. I'm a bigger fan of gliding with his cape.
That's what I'm
I
talking
think,
about.
yeah, but I'm like the way it is in the Nolanverse
Oh,
because
oh,
the Nolanverse I feel set up a tradition of gliding that way and inspired gliding with his cape, and I like the technology that Lucius had that explained how his cape was able to expand. To
yeah,
go back on the detective and the lens thing though, I thought it was really cool. It gave him an excuse to always look stoic in a room, and I think I kind of like that, and I dig that idea.
mm,
That why is he always giving everybody a stern and why is he always staring? Like it gave it gave an explanation for that. Why Batman would look socially awkward in a room,
yeah.
aside from the fact that he's in a bat suit.
I didn't even think about that as much. Like he wasn't just being observant to be observant or to be quiet. It's not like he's socially awkward per se.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
just really doing work, and he's working all the time.
yeah,
it,
yeah,
was pretty cool to see. Like I really like that technology. But to give Nolan his credit, bro, like he does do like detective work and he does do surveillance and stuff in his own way. And even Batman, that's how he even got caught up when he got burned alive by Scarecrow. He was really doing. He was looking in that building. He gave that kid one of his little devices, which
yeah. Even when he was
was,
looking for Selena Kyle in The Dark Knight Rises, like he pulled up a bunch of different files
yeah,
on the Batcave computer. I'm not saying he didn't do
he
it.
got the fingerprints and everything. He got a
Yeah.
he found out. Even in the Dark Knight, the bullets that Joker, he was trying to figure out what bullets Joker was trying to use,
Mm,
and he was trying to recreate Joker's fingerprint. Like he does his work. I don't know why people. It was a different interpretation of detective work, but I'm
yeah.
like, I gotta give the other Batman his due. He does his detective work.
You know what? I don't know that the world
I
is trying
do
to say he
like
doesn't do
how
it.
you mentioned the journaling to go back on that. Like the other Batman, we never seen him like journal stuff. Well, he would like write notes while he's. while he's doing like tests, but he wouldn't like journal, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
Even though I felt the journal was only at the beginning of the movie, like
no, man, he did it throughout. Like, I
throughout.
if you would the first 2/3 of the movie, as the months were progressing, you would see different mentions of months because he was journaling what was happening in those months as it
I
progressed
don't
towards the
think
end.
that happened over months, bro.
Sorry, was it nights? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because it was November leading. No, I think it was months. At the beginning of the movie, no, everyone was wearing a costume. Maybe it was just a week. Was that just a really long week?
I think it was a really long, maybe like 2 to 3 days.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Oh my god, no, he was so tired. It makes sense how tired he was.
I think I could be wrong. Like that's what I'm saying. Like, I gotta watch the movie again for
Yeah,
sure.
I mean, but it would make sense because if it really is taking inspiration from the Long Halloween, first scene we get him. I am the shadows. Like when he's talking about being a nocturnal animal and walking through a crowd of people that are wearing a mask and kids trick or treating. Yeah, he said busiest night of the year. Hmm. Yeah, I guess it did take place over just a few days. That's crazy. Also, his combat skills. I like the fighting scenes in the movie, and I thought the combat scenes were good. And I thought that even though I think it was a PG-13 movie, there was very raw intensity in some scenes. Like I loved when he was getting shot at, and I think a lot of people may have been opposed to the bat symbol in his chest being made from the gun that killed his parents. But I think a lot of the times in the movie, you see the bullets bounce off of his chest and how effective his suit is. And then in the first scene when he's fighting with the goons that night, you see him tase the crap out of this guy after he shoots him. And I think that's the beginning of like the no guns policy, like he's ah, it was good. It was good. I also like that he didn't have it all figured out. I like that he lost towards the end of the movie or lost in a huge way, which isn't necessarily new in Batman movies, but I also like how resourceful he is on Alfred because Alfred fought. Alfred used to be a soldier. I I think they also talk about Alfred in this movie being familiar with the circus, and maybe they'll jump back into that when we go see Dick Grayson in the next movie. But yeah, man, I don't know. I think it was a really good take.
So yeah, I'm kind of glad you brought up the fighting scenes because yeah, you know me, I'm big on action sequences, and I hadn't even brought them up yet. There was one thing I had a problem with. I feel I saw all the action sequences in the trailer already. So by the time I got to them in the movie, like it didn't hit me the same as I feel it should have. You know, you brought
Mm.
up how he tased that. I saw that in the trailer. How he tased that guy. You know, I feel trailers are a very important part of marketing. Don't get me wrong, but certain things in the trailer that I felt for the Batman kind of hurt its watch. Because now I've seen a lot of things in the trailer, and you pretty much extended this trailer to 3 hours. You know, I was sitting there in the movie theater, like, okay, where's the Batmobile? So I know it's coming. And then by the time he goes on the ramp,
It's a good scene.
it killed some of that impact I feel the scene could have had because you see him get on the ramp and you're like, why is he taking forever to land? I don't know if it hit you like that. I'm like, yo, he's been in the air for a while. Yeah, the penguin doesn't know he just got on a ramp and then but but we as an audience know. I'm like looking at my watch, like, when is he gonna land? I know he went on that ramp, you know. And even that walk sequence was done way better in the trailer, because in the trailer they raised the volume of the music in the trailer and it intensified his walk towards the penguin. But in the movie, they lowered the volume and they played a softer version of the song. And after he walks up, he like ducks under and starts looking at the penguin. I'm like, what is going on?
It's one of those
Like,
scenes in
what
the movie
is
that's
going
comedy,
on?
like when the Riddler is yelling no when he's upset with with Bruce for calling him insane and thinking they're not the same.
I'm like, I didn't get why they had to show him ducking down. It was awkward. But yeah, there were some things that I felt were executed better in the trailer than they were in the actual movie. But to give the trailer and the movie credit, bro, that song that plays in the movie, his theme.
The Nirvana song.
No, his theme.
He, dun, 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 dun. That
No, no,
one?
no, no, no. His theme. They play it at the end of the trailer when he's walking up to the penguin. Like, it's the theme that plays throughout the whole movie.
Dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun, dun.
yeah.
Okay.
That kind of sounded like you're doing Vader's
It
theme.
to me they sound a lot alike.
Yes,
A
that
lot alike.
that's the theme I'm talking about. And I don't want to say they overused it, because that theme is so sick. Like, I walked out of the theater humming it, you know. So I'm all like, yeah, use it, and they did. They
It's like when
used
you
it.
watch Wonder Woman and like anytime you saw her in a scene, they were
Yeah.
using They really did. Every time you saw her in the movie, you knew
Yeah.
she was in the scene because of the song. Like
All
how
right.
are the
I'm all of a
Amazon?
sudden in the Amazon. I can feel it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I enjoyed the theme. The theme was pretty sick.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far going back to the action sequences, I just feel the trailers just spoiled a lot.
All right. Usually you and I disagree on trailers because I'm very pro trailer, and I think that they needed to do two things. I want to say firstly, I completely understand your point. I do. I think the reason that they had to push it with this movie is because if it weren't for No Way Home and Venom and Shang-Chi, people would have been more, what's the word, risk averse to going into the theaters. And I hate to say it like this, but it's a DC movie versus it being a Marvel movie. So if they
Okay.
wanted to make sure that people were coming into the theater to buy tickets, keep everything afloat, but also like encourage people to come back for more, they needed to show people enough in the trailer for them to think it's not just worth it to go see a DC movie at the end of a pandemic, beginning of an endemic, but it's worth it to go see Batman. And he had a lot of critiques coming out the door, maybe less than some of his other movies because he's a great actor. If you've actually looked at his range and other films that he's been in, he's a great actor. But the other reason I think is because we've talked about how in tier A movies, when they're thought pieces, sometimes the art takes away from it. Like you and I both like Superman Returns, but you pointed out to me there was no action in that movie whatsoever. Like he doesn't throw a single punch. And before we had walked into that movie, I didn't realize that that's what I was going into because the trailer shot the action and the intensity of it so well. Like this scenes where Superman's flying, scenes where the bullet were going into his eye and then bouncing off of him. Like you went in expecting to see that level of interaction with villains and ground level bad guys the entire time. But when it's a artsy thought piece, I think you also need to prove to people there's going to be enough action in this movie.
Yeah.
So I think that's why they did it,
Okay.
and I'm not upset with it, but I do understand in this case how it does take away from the movie.
And it takes away in ways where Batman got in his Batmobile, and I'm like, maybe that's just this Batman, bro. But it's like he was waiting for the cameraman and us to turn around and look at
And
him.
Jim Gordon and the people around him, because we knew what he was getting in, but he waited
Yeah,
until they turned around. Then he turned his
yeah.
lights
They turn
on.
around, and I'm all like, you could just stop him right now. You could run him over. It won't be killing them, but you could run them over right now and don't allow them to get into their car. But instead, he's all like, "Nah, like I wanna go on a chase scene." That's what it feels like. Like we all know as an audience is like, okay, yeah, we're about to go on that chase scene from the trailer. Like it's about to happen right now.
Unless everything that we saw from the perspective of the viewers actually happened within the same second. Like,
Maybe.
if those were all different perspectives of the same moment, then sure. But
He sat there and revved for a while, bro. I'm like, no, this guy's not even moving. He's just revving, just to rev. And then also, so not only does he decide to go on this bat chase, yes, I called it a bat chase. He decided to go on this bat chase. What's up with all the truckers that blew up?
Oh, dude, I thought
Did
about that too.
like, bro, how about all the people that you just put in danger because you wanted to go on this bat chase?
Yeah, pretty reckless. Again,
Pretty reckless.
young Bruce, more vengeful, more angry. Not as calculated. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, not as calculated. Literally putting people in danger. No
Yeah.
wonder the Riddler wants to expose.
Right? Yeah, no, like I thought the point where he called out Bruce and he was like, you know what, you're not as smart as I thought you were. Maybe I gave you more credit. I thought that was beautiful because I think the stakes are high in all of the movies with Batman villains, and going back and watching the Nolan universe, they killed it every time. But I was I was thinking about it and I was like, he wasn't as smart. He didn't think this through, even for him being a detective all the way through. He could have planned better, but he wasn't prepared for the unexpected. And the stakes were still high. Like at the end, you see the Riddler be upset about not murdering everyone in town and not pitting Gotham against each other. But I was thinking to myself, so many people still died. Batman saved very few in comparison to all the people that were lost in my mind that
Yeah.
night. Like,
How many people really made it to that like sanctuary?
right? How many people got flooded? You know?
Yeah.
That's worse than the Narrows scene. Like, I was thinking about the scene from the Narrows in Batman Begins where Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul release the toxin, but I'm thinking to myself, as sad as this is, it's and I mean it's a classist issue, but it's the lower in boroughs that were affected, and it was contained within that area. It never actually got to Wayne Tower and then spread to the center of the city and everywhere else where the upper echelon would have been affected as well. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that was Riddler's point. I think he wanted to flood the upper echelon first on their high grounds and then have the inner city fight for resources and things go outwards. But man, that was just crazy. And I hope that in movie two he's more prepared for villains like that, especially if he's already met an unnamed Joker and has dealt with Falcone, and by that time has dealt with more Arkham rogues, and is going to be prepared to fight the Penguin. I just feel like you got to go big. You can't screw up next time around. I thought they were witty, like the game of cat and mouse and the clues, and
Yeah.
Catwoman being a cat. I thought that was funny. I appreciated that. I chuckled.
Even on Catwoman, man, I actually enjoyed Catwoman. I enjoyed her so much. I would say that I think I liked her more than Anne Hathaway's Catwoman.
You know what, man? You know what, man? My fiance and I were rewatching The Dark Knight Rises, and as we were watching it, I was thinking again, this is totally unexpected casting for Catwoman. But Anne Hathaway actually did really well. I realized by the end of the movie, and I remember feeling that the first time around too. Like I was shocked, but I wasn't as shocked with Selena Kyle in this movie's casting. And I think in interviews she touches on the casting process for herself in this movie and in others. But I loved I liked her as a standalone character. I think the way that they're building her character up in this universe, I'd be excited to see her do something with Huntress and maybe have more of a good cop, bad cop, bottoms relationship between the two of them as it goes. But if Penguin's gonna get a movie, I think, or a show, I think I'd be interested in seeing them do a bit more with Selena Kyle, you know? Or at least, yeah, I liked her iteration more than previous iterations. What else? How'd you feel about Gordon and Alfred, though?
I liked Gordon and Alfred. I thought they were good characters. They were solid.
Yeah, yeah, I felt like they made sense within the universe, but I don't
Yeah.
feel like I had as personal a connection to them.
Okay. Yes, I can agree to that. Actually, as in comparison to
The
the
Nolan
Alfred and
universe.
Gordon that we get in Nolan, yeah.
Yeah, like from movie one, I think I fell in love with Alfred as a character. I don't remember how I felt about Gordon. Even in the interviews, the gentleman that plays Jim Gordon in this movie paid homage to the gentleman that plays Gordon in the Nolan universe, and I felt like, again, solid casting for both of them. I don't remember how I felt about Gordon the first time around within the Dark Knight trilogy. Maybe I'll feel different about Gordon as we progress, but yeah, no, I thought he was funny. I thought he was humble, sometimes meek, genuinely a good guy, trusting Batman, really played into their relationship as members of like the Bat family or early Bat family, but
Yeah.
I don't know.
Their chemistry was good. I
Yeah,
liked the dynamic.
yeah,
Like it really felt like a buddy cop between them two.
yeah,
And like Batman is the loose end that Gordon has to keep like contained in front of all the other cops, you know?
which is funny because I don't know that we actually saw that as much in the recent interpretation. Like at the end of the first movie, Gordon says to Batman, "I never got a chance to thank you," and Bruce says, "And you'll never have to." But in this
Mm-hmm.
movie, Gordon hands Bruce the key, and Batman swings and doesn't hold his punch because then it wouldn't be believable. And it's like that's not something that I feel we've seen recently, but it makes it
Yeah,
more
that was
believable.
really like that was kind of I forgot about that scene. That was comedy, bro.
Yeah.
Like that was straight comedy. Like that was on some like 22 Jump Street type comedy, you know? You feel me? It
Yeah.
comes in the face. Okay. It was funny, don't get me wrong. It was really funny. But I don't know if it was once again like some of the comedy in the movie was just so on the nose, I feel.
Yeah.
And I feel Nolan handled like there's definitely funny moments in
Yeah. Like when Selena's talking to Batman and she disappears and he's like, "So that's what that feels like." Like it's dry
yeah, that
humor.
one's kind of cringy. I'm not gonna. That's one of Nolan's like worst ones.
What? I thought it was funny.
Yeah, no, that one's pretty cringy. One of the ones I liked was the "I gotta get me one of those."
Or
I'll be fine about the
what's the
Batman
difference
film.
between you and me? I'm not
I'm
wearing
not.
tights.
Wait, what did you think he said?
I'm not wearing. Oh, I'm not wearing hockey pants. Is that what he said?
Yeah, hockey pads.
Yeah, because he was
But
wearing tights.
yeah, no, that scene was pretty like comedic though. Like that was straight out of a comedy movie, which is weird to see, but it worked.
Vaudeville
It
humor.
worked. But it worked.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, no, I like Gordon and It worked for this iteration of Batman. Like it worked. I'm not gonna sit here and disagree. Like it worked. It worked.
Yeah, this Bat universe seems like it's got a lot of promise. Like so far, we have the Batman lined up. We have Gotham PD, again Arkham Asylum centric, Penguin, the Batman 2, maybe the Batman 3. But everything that I'm hearing about what he intends to do with the universe sounds good, and I loved I loved a lot of his recent works. I loved what he did with Cloverfield, which maybe when we're talking about like tier A movies isn't one that everyone puts in tier A, but Cloverfield is tier A. And I love what he did with that series. I love what he did with Planet of the Apes. This guy's got a good vision and he tells a good story, so I'm not at all worried about what Batman's going to be like moving forward. I don't
Yeah.
know that it necessarily matches the tone of the rest of the universe. I don't know how everyone else would fit into it. Like characters like Shazam, Wonder Woman, Batman 89, any iteration of the Flash that we do see, or the JLA, I don't think everyone's going to fit in, but I can see like Dr. Fate, maybe Val Zod, and a few other characters popping in depending on what story they're telling. And all in all, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a good family story. And I think it was a good Batman, Bruce, and hero movie.
See, this is where we're about to cross paths, bro. Because you said Batman and Bruce, and that
Hmm.
brings me into the exact point I wanted to get into. And I'm gonna start bringing even up Ben Affleck's Batman. I feel what separates Christian Bale's Batman from Ben Affleck and Robert Pattinson is the Bruce Wayne character.
Hmm.
Because I have nothing against Ben Affleck's Batman. I actually liked his Batman. It was pretty cool. I liked his fighting scenes. When he was in the suit, I was fine with him. It was when he was out of the suit and he was Bruce Wayne that I didn't necessarily enjoy.
Well, wait,
And
Whedon's version or Snyder's version?
for me, I don't think it even mattered because
Okay.
I still enjoyed Batman when he was Batman.
But I'm
Like
talking
Ben
about
Affleck
Bruce.
wasn't a bad Batman. Like he was pretty decent Batman, bro. Like I liked him as Batman.
No, I'm talking about as Bruce. When you saw Ben Affleck as Bruce, which version of Bruce did you
Yes,
have qualms with?
I feel similar about both versions. I
Okay.
feel both performances were not too different from one another,
Okay.
and I kind of feel similarly with Robert Pattinson when he was Batman, which is most of the movie. Majority of the movie, he's more Batman than he is ever Bruce Wayne. When he was Batman, I enjoyed his performance. It was those moments when he was Bruce Wayne that he would lose me. The hairpiece that they had on him just wasn't working.
He's young Bruce, man. I felt like it was very brooding, very. I
It,
didn't mind
it
it.
it's not working, bro. It's not working. The hairpiece wasn't working, bro. Just it made him look like the Penguin from Gotham.
That's funny because I know exactly which character you're talking about, and
Can't unsee it, right?
I feel like it depends on. He had a lot of target audiences here. Some people loved Robert Pattinson's hair, like it's not every scene. I think maybe you're talking about the scene with the sunglasses, but when he takes off his helmet, when he takes off the
No, I'm
cowl and
talking
the
about
cape.
even the funeral. When he went to the funeral, it's just not working.
Hmm.
It's not working. And I feel this version of Bruce Wayne didn't work for me, man. but
Because
I
he's
loved
still
his
discovering who he
Batman.
is, or what?
I think this version of Bruce Wayne, I mean, there's still so much. That's what's interesting. There's still so much growth that this Bruce Wayne can still go through. So I
And
have to
there's
give,
some we didn't see because this is a year
yeah,
two movie.
yeah. But he just hasn't learned how to be Bruce Wayne because at the end of the day, the person inside that body is Batman. And
Hmm.
he has to pretend to be Bruce Wayne. He hasn't learned how to be Bruce Wayne. But part of his identity is Bruce Wayne too, because he was Bruce Wayne for 8 years up until his parents died. So part
Right.
of that still lives in him, and
I think
he
that's where we
allows
get the
people.
brooding and the
He allows.
ambivalence.
Oh, my bad.
No, I was just saying, I think that's where we get the brooding and the ambivalence. Like, I think he's still a child at heart. He hasn't grown out of it, and that's why his crusade looks the way it does to me. But go ahead.
What I was gonna say is, even the people that love and care about him get to see a side of Bruce Wayne that like even the public doesn't get to see. But for this version of Bruce Wayne, he was honestly no different than Batman. Like if I were the thugs opening the door for Batman a couple days ago, and this person comes up to me
Yours or
and
mine?
does the same routine, I'm probably gonna assume that this person might be Batman. You
I'm your man.
know, his character of Batman and Bruce Wayne, there was no separation in that character, and I feel that yeah. So Robert Pattinson was Batman all the time, and that was a problem. Ben Affleck, his Bruce Wayne and Batman, they weren't the same person, but they just didn't work. And I feel the Nolan one had a good balance of finding the three people inside that body, which is Batman, the Bruce Wayne to the public, and the Bruce Wayne to his loved ones.
Yeah. And we were talking about it the other day, like even when he was holding the stapler to Jim Gordon in Batman Begins, like he refers to the resolution as we, which is it's big because I felt like you don't often get that in any Batman story. The few times I've seen Batman in any iteration do that is in that moment, maybe when the Justice League is being followed in the DCAU, Justice League Unlimited, and he's saying to Wally, "Hey, we all need to change." Yada yada yada. Wally's like, "I don't even know any of your identities," and he acknowledges himself as Bruce Wayne. And then maybe in some of the moments with Terry McGinnis, but it's very rare, even in the comics. I feel so. Yeah, a lot of fair points, bro. Hmm.
But I did enjoy his Batman. And as I said, I enjoyed Ben Affleck's Batman. I feel it's hard not to get Batman right. I feel it's very hard to nail Bruce Wayne. Or at
Okay.
least that's the challenge that the last couple of actors I feel have had.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe not even the actors. Maybe the writing, because like the first time around when people saw Affleck as Bruce, I think people were upset that his Bruce wasn't more calculated, or that he didn't even lean into the like playboy billionaire philanthropist role as much. I felt like the most we got out of Bruce was Bruce kind of being attracted to, oh my god, why am I forgetting Wonder Woman's name?
Gal Gadot,
Diana.
Diana. Yeah.
Diana. Yeah, but other than that, the moments that we do see Bruce Wayne and Joshua Whedon's Batman, I feel like he is lost, or he's angry and just angry. Like you get a real vibe for old man Bruce, and you really see him nail it as Batman. But yeah, Bruce wasn't just angry. So I would love to see more of that in the next movie, or maybe he loses the cow. Like he came close to losing the cowl in this movie. I don't know. I'm excited to see what he does. I think Reeves has a good thing going here, and I'm actually excited for all of DC. And from all of the movies that we talked about in the World Needs Heroes trailer, I think this was a solid start for DC this year, even with them pushing some of the other films back,
Way back.
way back. That was that was a bad call for them to move the Flash that far back, but I feel like maybe they're making room for other things. Maybe they feel like they have to.
Maybe they're bringing Superman for the Flash movie.
Yeah. I think we're gonna get Black Adam. Well, Black Adam's supposed to premiere right around the same time as Shazam 2.
Yeah.
And I want you to watch Shazam 1 first before I make any more comments. But I feel like with both of those characters coming, there's a chance we're going to get Henry Cavill's Man of Steel back on screen. And Peacemaker makes that seem a bit more promising. And they're probably trying to build more worlds to melt into everything that's going to happen within the Flash. And I'm excited for that.
I'm excited too, man. I enjoyed Batman though, man.
I'm Batman, and this
No,
is
no, no. He's Vengeance.
I'm, I'm vengeance.
Hey, how's it going, Vengeance?
You're everything they say that you are, huh? And I am too. And this is superhero spectating.